My name is Cage, and I am not a terrorist. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage, and when I realized that Shahrukh Khan's birthday was up, it was really no question at all which movie I would review. I lost track a long time ago how often people have recommended My Name is Khan to us. So it was finally time to watch it. My Name is Khan, or My Name is Khan, is a 2010 Hindi language drama that was directed by Karan Johar and written by Shibani Bhattija. It stars Shahrukh Khan as Rizwan Khan, a Muslim with Asperger's syndrome who grew up in India and moved to the United States. And almost the entire film was shot and is set in the United States. It deals with the fear-mongering, the paranoia and the hatred that people of Islamic belief had to face after the terror attacks of 9/11. My Name is Khan is a big emotional mainstream production that once and most certainly will tug at your heartstrings. It tackles very serious and important subject matters, and it wraps them in this crowd-pleasing feel-good movie. I wasn't completely on the movie's wavelength. For me, it's certainly a bit too oversimplified, glossy and in your face, but the movie also has so much going for it that I still ended up liking it a lot. And right from the beginning, you get the feeling that this is something with a cinematic touch, something for the big screen, a big production with strong cinematography and a good sense of how to tell this specific special story. For a big chunk of the movie, our protagonist Rizwan is on a very peculiar journey. He has set out to meet the President of the United States, to meet the President and say to him, "My name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist." It isn't possible all the time, but every now and then I watch something where I don't know anything at all about the story beforehand. And My Name is Khan was a case like that. I only knew that it's very beloved and apparently features one of Shahrukh Khan's best performances. But neither did I know that he's playing someone with Asperger's, nor that it would center around 9/11. And after that quite intense opening sequence that shows us how this one is met with suspicion and hostility at an American airport, I was quite intrigued. It was also a big relief to see that the Western actors actually feel like real actors for a change. So often in Indian movies we get these really terrible amateurs in supporting roles for Western characters. But thankfully not in this case, and despite some smaller parts that were a little bit weak, the majority is really pretty good. After the movie, I found out that there was indeed a real event very similar to the movie's beginning when Shahrukh Khan visited the States to promote a movie and he got pulled aside at the airport and questioned for over an hour about the nature of his visit. Of course, due to his last name and religion. So the movie is indeed quite accurate. At the same time watching that opening sequence, I was a bit uneasy regarding the portrayal of someone with autism. Representation is a very delicate matter, especially if someone who doesn't have a disability portrays someone from that community. And if it's a big feel-good movie, I'm extra careful. But while the film certainly takes its creative liberties and addresses that up front, and honestly I also really don't know much about this disorder, I was quite surprised how great Shahrukh Khan is in the role and how delicate and positive this portrayal is. The film certainly spends a huge portion on Rizwan's struggles with Asperger's. We get a flashback to his childhood in which Rizwan is played by the Slumdog Millionaire actor Tanay Cheddar, or later when he has to face the noises and chaos of the big city in his adult life. We also learn from his voiceover narration, which is basically a letter that he's writing to his wife Mandira, that it's easier for him to write words of affection than to say them out loud. Yet his condition never really feels like something that's holding him back or something that he must learn to overcome. It's just part of who he is and how he lives his life. And this depiction, both by the way the character is written and of course by the way Shahrukh portrays him, feels just very genuine and human. My Name is Khan is really not so much a movie about someone with autism. It just happens that its protagonist has autism. But it's really more about being a good human being and showing the world that your religion alone doesn't make you good or bad. In the beginning, Rizwan's mother tells him that there are only good people and bad people in the world, and it doesn't matter at all if they are Hindus or Muslims or whatever other religion. Now, like I said, that's of course a pretty simple message or oversimplified approach to a very complex topic, but it's nonetheless a good and important message. And there's also something refreshing and liberating about the fact that the movie just addresses the paranoia and racial profiling of a post-9/11 America heads on. And it also shows that we are all connected on this planet that we share. And as you know, I'm just a sucker for these idealist, optimistic and maybe even a little bit cathartic movies. And since this is also a big Hindi production with a runtime of nearly 3 hours, we of course get a lot of other stuff to establish the world of our protagonist. Of course, a lot of humor and romance. And combined with Shahrukh's lovely performance, this was honestly my favorite part. Rizwan is such a likable, good-hearted character, and his way of dealing with things, learning to sell the beauty products that his brother makes, finding his way around the big city with his camcorder, trying his best to make Mandira fall in love with him, and then later travel the country to meet the president, it's all quite heartwarming and also very entertaining. My Name is Khan was the 6th film for Shahrukh Khan and Kajol together. We of course already reviewed their classic DDLJ a while ago. This was also kind of a reunion because at that point in time they haven't played together since Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Baam in 2001. And what should I say, they are just wonderful together. And again, I was really pleasantly surprised how normal the movie depicts this romance. There's really no big deal about Rizwan having Asperger's. And when they are about to have their wedding night, it's just very funny and sweet. And while the movie certainly gives you that big Bollywood romance feel-good vibe, it's probably more down-to-earth and restrained than other productions, which honestly almost felt a bit weird, as if it wants to please both worlds a little bit. It was, for example, rather bizarre that Rizwan and Mandira live in this big luxurious house in one of America's most expensive areas, with Rizwan not really having a real job at all at that point and Mandira just having started her own beauty parlor. Things like this keep the movie from feeling more real. Towards the end, there's also this whole Mama Jenny segment that was really too much for me. The stereotypes and then the big pathos and sacrifice later on, it was just too heavy-handed and on the nose for my own taste. But on a positive note, I liked how the friendship between Mandira's son Samir and the neighbor's kid Reese was portrayed, including the tragic event that of course has to happen in a film like this. It was extremely dramatic, again too much for my taste, but also not completely over the top. And I liked how Reese has to carry this burden and comes to terms with it later on. And of course Mandira's arc, which directly plays into the movie's themes of giving into hate or choosing love and hope instead. I guess I should also mention the music, which was composed by the trio Shankar Ehsan Loy. While preparing for the review, I listened to the soundtrack again and I think I liked it more the second time around. Some musical choices in the movie, how an already pretty obvious, pretty emotional moment is painted even more dramatic through the music, some of that was just too blatant for me. And unfortunately, the few songs didn't have subtitles in the version I watched. Overall, I liked the music okay, but it wasn't a soundtrack that really got to me. And I think that pretty much also sums up my take on the film. I really loved Shahrukh's performance and the character of Rizwan, the romance plot, the humor, the goodwill and the importance of the message, while I wasn't completely on board with the overall a bit too schmaltzy and simplistic tone and some scenes that were just a bit too much for me. So in German I'd say, Mein Name is Khan hat einen großartigen Shahrukh Khan in der Hauptrolle, der uns ein berührendes und sehr menschliches Porträt schenkt, ohne dass die besonderen Lebensumstände seines Charakters groß vom eigentlichen Thema des Films ablenken. I give My Name is Khan 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.7, but I don't do that. Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about My Name is Khan. And also let me know what are other movies with Shahrukh Khan that I absolutely have to watch. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd and also on Patreon simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.